All right, now this is part 2, man. This is where I'm about to give you my top picks, also with a few other honorable mentions, people that I really like. So let's hop into it, man. Starting off with quarterback. My top two quarterback plays are going to be Russell Wilson at 6,900 going up against Seattle. Not Seattle. Going up against Green Bay. He plays for Seattle. And I think he's in a really good spot, man. I'm digging it. I was talking about how I believe it's going to be a shootout. I think we can look towards him, man, for a bounce back season in general. And I think it's a good matchup, man. One of the games I'm the highest on, so why not get the quarterback, man? The man who will have the ball in his hands the most times in a game. I'm willing to take that, man. He's my absolute #1 quarterback in Week 1. Quarterback number 2 is going to be Carson Palmer. I was saying how I like Arizona this week for some odd reason. And it's mainly because Carson Palmer, man, he's looked really, really good during the preseason. I think he's just on fire, man. He's a veteran. He knows the type of throws he has to make. So this whole offseason, they wasn't working him. They wasn't working his arm. They wanted him to relax, man, and just calm down and actually just digest the game. So he spent the whole offseason just re-teaching himself things, learning from his mistakes last year. And we seen that to be a big deal in the preseason. I know it's the preseason, but third week of preseason is always an early indicator on what we can look for on opening week, man. So I like what I seen in Palmer. I like the matchup. Think it's going to be a good game. Palmer is number 2. Now for a high-priced quarterback, man. I know Russell Wilson is somewhat expensive. If I had to go above Wilson, it would be Cam Newton, man. I was talking about how I think he's not getting the respect he deserves. I think he's in a good spot. Going up against San Francisco, I believe San Francisco wins this game not San Francisco, man. I am tweaking. I think Carolina wins this game very easily. But I think it should be somewhat of a high-scoring game. But I'm in love with Cam Newton in this one. Bounce-back year for him as well. If he's 100% healthy, if he's ready to go, I'm locking him in, man. He's definitely a good pick. And then on the value end, super value, on the opposite side of that, man, give me a little Brian Hoyer. I think he's in a decent spot. Going up against this Carolina defense, man, who lost Josh Norman. Their secondary is not that excellent. One thing we know about Hoyer, we know he's a gunslinger, man. He loves to throw the ball. He will be very comfortable if this game is a shootout. And if this game wounds out to be somewhat close, if it turns out close and it's high scoring, Brian Hoyer will surprise a lot of people, especially with that cheap price tag. I am a big fan of paying down for quarterbacks. It's one of my favorite things to do in NFL DFS. So if I had to pay down, man, Brian Hoyer, and then the last guy I want to talk about is Carson Wentz. He's at 5'3", man. I think he's severely underpriced. I'm looking for him to have just a tremendous year, man, a tremendous season, this upcoming season. He's going up against Washington. Washington has Josh Norman now, but Washington is not as good as you would think, man. I don't even think Josh Norman is as good as we think. I know he's part of the hype train, man. He has a lot of noise around his name. He definitely is a top cornerback, but he's not. I don't think he's as dominant as we would think. I think with that being said, man, I think Carson Wentz has a really good game. This game, it's a rivalry game, like I said, a shootout. I'm locking in on this one. If I wanted any pieces from this game, it would be Carson Wentz, man. I like him. So those are my 5 quarterbacks. My top 2, once again, is going to be Wilson and Carson Palmer. Moving on to running backs, man. I'm going to start off with my top running backs, and this one is going to be David Johnson Of course, not a big surprise, man. He's the workhorse, man. We know what he's able to do. I seen an interview, man, where he said he wants to rush for 1,000 yards and also receive for 1,000 yards. And he surprisingly came very close to that last year. The man is a beast. He's going to get the ball so many times, man. And going up against this Detroit defense, I feel really good about it. I think he sees a tremendous amount of touches, man. So I'm all over him. He has the ability to make big plays. He will be involved in the offense in every facet of the game. So I love me some David Johnson. My second running back is going to be Marshawn Lynch, Mr. Beast Mode at 5'3". We're talking about Tennessee and Raiders is one of the shootout games. Why not get a running back, man? I dig him and DeMarco Murray, but I think Marshawn Lynch is at a super discount at 5,300. I think we can lock him in, man. I think he'll definitely bring back value on that price tag. I think he's way too cheap. And then my last running back I will be using. Now, of course, I will have other running backs. I'm running quite a few lineups this weekend, but Lamar Miller, I wanted to put him down as one of my top running backs. At that price, 5,100, he is too cheap. Going up against Jacksonville, man. I believe Houston plans on running the ball a lot. Tom Savage is a starting quarterback. We know Houston's defense is going to be very shut down. They're going to be locked downish. So Houston should have the ball for the majority of the game. We know Houston should be fired up. They're going to be playing in front of their fans. And we're praying for everybody in Houston. Hopefully everybody's okay. Hopefully y'all bounce back, man. Real talk. But we know Houston will be fired up, man. A healthy J.J. Watt. They have a strong defense, man. Things I like to do, I like to correlate defenses and running backs. And I'm using Houston's defense in this situation, going up against Jacksonville and Blake Bortles. And I think Lamar Miller's in an excellent spot, man. So that is my last running back. Now, some honorable mentions, of course, Le'Veon Bell. If you want to pay up for him, feel free, man. He's going up against Cleveland. Excellent matchup. Not much more to say about that. We have Shady McCoy at 8,200. Excellent spot going up against the New York sorry-ass Jets. DeMarco Murray, he's in a really good spot, 7,400, going up against Oakland. Supposed to be a shootout. I'm all about some Murray action. I have him in a ton of season long, so I'll be looking towards him. Jordan Howard, 6,300, man. He's in a good spot. I think he's in a good spot too, man. He's going to get the ball a lot, man. We know that. He's going to get the ball a lot. Going up against Atlanta, that's a really high-scoring game too. I actually left them out of my notes, but they're one of the highest total games on Sunday slate as well, man. So Jordan Howard could have a really big day. Ty Gurley, I'm locking in on Mr. Gurley, man. I drafted him in the majority of my season longs as well. They're going up against the Colts, man. The Colts, they're slick buns. Tolzien is going to be the starting quarterback. The Colts defense have been struggling. Ty Gurley, I am looking for him to have a tremendous bounce back year. I'm all about some Gurley action. And he's only 6 racks, man. I think that's a bit of a discount. Last running back I wanted to talk about is Jonathan Stewart. He's at 5 racks, man. That's a super value. I know everybody's hype about Christian McCaffrey, but Jonathan Stewart is the starting running back, man. He's going to be the one, when they get down to the goal line, he's going to be the one receiving that rock, man. I love easy touchdowns when you're on an efficient offense, and you're the starting running back and you're a power back at that. When you get close, man, they're going to hand you the rock, man. So I'm looking forward to rostering a little bit of Jonathan Stewart. That's going to do it for my running backs. My top 3 receivers, number 1 is going to be the man, the myth, the legend, Doug Baldwin. He's really not all that. He's not a man. Well, he is a man. But the other two, you know, debatable. But I'm pairing him up with Russell Wilson, man. I think he's in a beautiful spot. At 6,700 going up against Green Bay. Green Bay secondary is buns. Everybody knows about stacking when it comes to NFL DFS, and this is a beautiful stack, man. Doug Baldwin has been Russell Wilson's blanket for the longest, man. He's been like his security blanket. They know each other, man. They have that chemistry on the field that only time can get you. So I'm a huge fan of Mr. Doug Baldwin this week. Think he's in an excellent spot. My next receiver, I was telling y'all how Palmer is my second quarterback. I want to stack him up with not Fitz, but John Brown, man, at 4,800. I think he's a cheap value. I think I can put him in a lot of my lineups, man. He's healthy. Last year he had a bad year, man. I think he suffers from sickle cell. And he was just having health issues last year, man. On top of that, I think he messed up his ankle, or I know he had a bodily function injury, you know, but he's back healthy. He looks good. He looks fast. I love the matchup versus Detroit, man. Like I said, I like to stick to things that I feel good about. I feel good about Palmer, so I have to like some of his receivers. And then my last receiver, it's not going to be a big surprise, man. It's not going to be a big surprise, but I'm going to double up. I feel so good about Wilson. I'm doubling up with Paul Richardson, man. Another super cheap value, man. This is my third receiver. I know it sounds crazy. There's a ton of other options. There are people I'm going to talk about, but in my Millie Maker lineup, the lineups that I'm playing, the big amount, I like to do one lineup, and I like to stick with that, man. And these are my receivers, man. These are the guys that made the cut. And I really do like them, man. I think they're cheap. They're in really good spots. Paul Richardson is going to be fighting for that number 2 role. Tyler Lockett will play more of the slot. They got rid of Curse. I think it opens up a ton of targets, man. I do believe that Russell Wilson will show out versus the Green Bay Packers. So I'm loading up on these receivers. And yeah, those are my 3 receivers that I will be using this upcoming week. Now, honorable mentions, man. AB 8,800, really good spot, man. We've already beat that horse, man. We know what to expect. Julio Jones at 8,500, really good spot. AJ Green is one of the most slept on receivers. They refuse to put him in the elite category, but he is just as good as Julio and AB and Odell. It shouldn't be separation. People like to put them in a category and then leave AJ Green behind, but AJ Green is just as dominant, just as explosive. Really good spot for him. Then you got Jordy Nelson. I'm sorry. I drew a blank right there. You got Jordy Nelson at 7,600. Really good spot, man. Really good spot versus Seattle. It's going to be a shootout, man. People are going to score, man. So it wouldn't surprise me if Nelson had a really good start to the season, week 1. Michael Crabtree versus Tennessee. He's at 6 racks. I think he's in an okay spot. Then you got Fitz at 5,900. I'm really high on Fitz. I think he's in a good spot. I'd rather have John Brown, though. Calvin Benjamin at 5,900 as well. He's in an excellent spot. I hope y'all see the trend, man. I'm picking kind of the same people from the same team, man. It's offenses that I really like. Wrapping up the receivers is going to be Devontae Adams and Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews is super cheap, man. 4,200. Excellent spot. Tight end is going to be real simple. We looking at Delaney Walker. We're looking at Greg Olsen. We're looking at Zach Ertz for some value. And then Austin Hooper. After Austin Hooper, I'm not taking too many other chances. But those are my top 4 tight ends. My number 1, of course, is Delaney. And I'm paying down for receiver, so I will be able to pay up for tight end. That's going to do it, man. Those are my top picks. Hopefully this helps. I want y'all to get to the green line. If y'all have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at DFSMasterMind _. Bless up, cash out. Let's get to the green line.